welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that just slugged an entire can of Punch soda. It's David Cross.
What's going on? Hey, Mark.
Every 10 minutes, are you going to... go for it. What's up?
Happy birthday, Mark. It's your birthday. It's not really your birthday.
I mean, I'll take it whenever you give it to me, man. I'll just throw it out randomly whenever.
Well, you have to be careful because it's your birthday. You might get murdered.
I might want to have fun.
I mean, fun in quotation marks.
I just want everyone to know that every 10 minutes of this episode, we're going to take a break and slug some Punch soda. So whatever we're talking about, whatever life or death fight we're in, whatever cleaning we're doing, we're going to drop it, chug some Punch, and play some pinball. That pinball machine in Willy's Wonderland was custom, David.
You know how expensive that is?
Like each part had to be fabricated. Machines
are really expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Oof.
Man, I would hire this drifter to clean my place because, okay, before we get in, there's so much to talk about, but let's just talk about this character by Nick Cage. Janitor. How, okay, no human on this planet could clean as wet. Like, is this Janitor human? Or is this Janitor something like the Drive Angry character?
Okay. I'm glad you brought this up. I was also thinking about his cleaning skills. I was worried about bringing it up. And this is not a bit. I was actually thinking about it while watching this film because he's able to, with a bottle of water, basically, clean anything and everything off the walls when it would probably be smarter just to paint it. I don't think he is magical. I don't think he is superhuman. I think his Punch soda gives him powers.
Yeah, because so it's almost, those films where I need my shot or I'll become a werewolf, or I need my serum and I'll become a full-fledged vampire like in Blade. His Punch soda keeps him from becoming his Drive Angry character or Ghost Rider or Mandy. Not Mandy. He's not Mandy in that. He's Red in that one. I think so. Now, did he take the breaks because Tex McAdoo told him to take the breaks? Or you're right. He needs his Punch soda.
So this is a great question. This is sort of the meat of this episode because we're trying to understand the Janitor, who is an unknowable character. I asked myself the same question. Why did he take breaks? What I landed on was he was a precision-driven person, and once he did something, he would do exactly that until he was finished with it. So he mentally could not give up. It's like, okay, he has to clean the entire place because he said he would. He's going to take the breaks because he said he would. And then I guess he had this thing with soda, like we don't know how long, like every hour he was drinking a soda. Yeah, it's weird. It's his weakness. Like that's the thing I was thinking about this film. Like you have a character who's basically unbeatable, except for his one weakness is he follows his own codes.
Yeah, he does follow his own codes, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's all time and potentially honor related. I don't know.
he's almost, what do you call it, a Ronin who's a disgraced samurai who doesn't have a master anymore, but he still sticks to this code. Or he's almost, they call this Pale Rider meets Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So, I mean, if you think about Pale Rider in those movies, he comes to town, stays, gets a mission done, and then leaves. But they have a code as well. Like they have a right or wrong. But what's interesting to me, David, is by him not leaving, they could have lit that place on fire, right? And killed all the puppets. Or would the puppets have run out and killed them? Actually, lighting a place on fire would just lead to a massive murder spree because if they busted out of the place, then does that make sense?
Yes.
They can move whenever they want.
If they hadn't chained the doors shut and tried to burn it down, those things would have come running out. That's the problem.
Imagine that, David. You're a punk kid, and you light Willy's Wonderland on fire, and you're like, I got you, suckers. And then the door just explodes open, and murderous puppets come running at you.
Some of them might even be on fire a little bit.
That's even more terrifying.
Yes, it is. A partially melted I don't know, alligators just storming at you.
What's more terrifying? A partially on fire demonic serial killer alligator, or a Dawn of the Dead 2004 fast zombie on fire?
The fast zombie?
Yeah, I'd have to say so. Because
I think
Liv, she shivs Siren Sarah in this. Like, Liv is a little scrapper, and she's doing okay with a knife. But if you stab a zombie, it's just going to bite you, and you're a zombie. And then you're also on fire with burns.
Yeah. And I would also say the villains in this, the possessed animatronics, aren't that smart.
No, they're not.
Let's dissect this. So the villains come after the people almost one at a time, but not quite.
This is what I'm thinking.
Very strange.
This is what I'm thinking, because I thought that too. But I think these serial killers are so used to having the upper hand. Like, they would take a family into their super fun room and demolish them. I think they loved fear. They were egotistical. They are, and also these serial killers, they're a group, but I also think they're kind of individualistic because they're all serial killers. Like, you never hear of a gang of serial killers. So they're sort of stuck together for safety. I don't think they're going to rumble like the Warriors do. So I think they're used to this, because David, you're cleaning that place and a puppet comes at you. You're not going to janitor them. You and I are not going to janitor these creatures. So I think that they're full of hubris. They're used to being alphas. They're used to scaring. And this is just one person who gives zero. Like, there's no Ashy Slashy Evil Dead in here. There's no Ash freaking out. There is just Janitor killing people by headbutting and kicking them. So that's what I think. That's how I can rationalize these puppets.
Yeah.
Going one by one. I don't know if you think about that.
I think we're on this basically the same concept. The way that I rationed it in my head, the way I explained it in my head, was that they were all getting their turn, and that it was like a rotation. So like whoever came in next, whoever was going to be the sacrifice next, someone else would get their first attempt to kill and quote eat that person. Like
Final Destination, how death works through its order, and then if it misses somebody, it comes back to them later. So this one's just like Tito gets the kill, and then Artie, then Nighty Night, then Gus the Gorilla, then Ozzy the Ostrich, then Cammy the Chameleon, then Siren Sarah, and then Willy. And then it just sort of cycles through that.
Yeah, that's what I thought initially. It was like, well,
that makes a lot of sense.
It's Gus's turn. He's hungry. Let him do his thing. They're going to bring another one at who knows. They're probably going, you know what? They're probably going through a lot of drifters, at least one a month.
Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah. And here's another question. They always talk about how the animatronics have to eat. What are they referring to? The animatronics aren't going to literally eat the people. They're not cannibalist animatronics.
Is it eat in air quotes, where they just need to kill? They need to satiate their hunger for murder?
Yeah, I mean, that's the closest I can get to it. It doesn't really matter, though.
They've been doing it for a while, because Liv in this movie, she was, 3, 4? And in this movie, she's 20, 18? Somewhere along those lines. So one a month, I mean, they've fed hundreds of people to these creatures. Couldn't the town just bust in there with guns and just light them up? The sheriff, a few people, it's the country, everyone, people got guns out there. I'm not stereotyping, but you could find some people. Listen, let's go in there and shoot the living daylights out of these things. Wouldn't that have been, they could have done that, right?
I think so. They do a good job of showing that basically everyone other than the janitor was susceptible to these animatronics, these possessed animatronics, because the sheriff gets smacked in half.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is going on is that just no one would have been able to stand up to them at all, ever. Even if they would have tried to get a posse together, they would have ended up being killed in some way.
Do you think they feed on fear to a certain extent? And since
that's what I think, yeah,
Janitor doesn't give that to them. It's interesting watching these apex predators lose. I love movies like that sometimes, where it's just they're so full of it, and then they just get wiped out. Oh,
yeah,
it makes me happy.
Yeah. So you know what, Mark? We we dived right into the deep discussion on this.
We did.
So for your listeners who, just to let them know, we're doing Willy's Wonderland.
Hey, we're what, 350 episodes in? They know the drill for MFF.
Yeah, but let's take a step back though, because like I wanna kind of start talking about our expectations going into this film.
Okay.
Because we did a trailer podcast about this when it dropped, and I didn't know much about it. I watched a trailer. I didn't do anything else up until this movie because I try to stay spoiler free. But my expectations for this movie was like a Mandy level film, and I think it gets close. This is a, let's say, like mid to high range Nick Cage B movie.
Oh, so I wouldn't put this anywhere near Mandy, because Mandy to me is just art. And I'm not slagging on this movie. This is a movie that nails its tone and knows what it is, but I don't think it was trying to be as artistic as Mandy, if that makes sense. Is that what
it does?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going more along the entertainment.
Oh,
route.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, no, I really, so when we talked about it on the trailer talk, I was a little worried. And I remember, I think you said you thought it might have like an 85% tomato meter. And I said somewhere around, 50? I said 58. So do you remember?
Yeah.
And right now it's at 59. So I was worried. I was worried because a lot of people talk about how boring this is, and some people are writing home that Cage phoned in this performance.
Oh, you read the same review I did.
I don't think that's the case. And I also I was just a little worried about people. The problem is, I watch a lot of Scott Adkins movies. I watch a lot of B movies, and so do you. And that's not a bad thing. But when a movie like this hits the mainstream, people have mainstream expectations. They don't have expectations for this market of films. So they look at it and like, this sucks. But if you watch a lot of these movies, I think you're able to embrace it because you know the genre. So that's what I was worried about. People seeing this and going, oh, this is crap. But it's not. This is a good movie for exactly what it is. But I guess we're just so used to those kind of films that we know this particular genre of horror comedy or low budget horror.
Yes. This is what's really interesting. I think what you just triggered in my brain is the concept of B movie language.
Yes.
And it's, I think you encapsulated it already. It's the idea that this movie fits the language of a B movie, a lower rent movie. It's a mostly plot driven movie with horror aspects added to it. It's not like a superhero movie. So you're right. The expectations need to be set better. But yeah. I also don't know what people expect. Like watching the trailer for this versus watching the trailer for a superhero movie, they're wildly different. Like you can clearly tell the tones are different and the production value is different.
Yeah. I don't think people think that deeply about it. I really don't think people are used to, so, what's been interesting about 2020 and 2021 is a lot of smaller films are getting much bigger, more publicity and more eyes on them because of the pandemic. And so this movie's sort of become an event film. It really this is $20 rental. There's articles all over the place talking about this movie, Nick Cage fighting puppets. So I think there's almost a mainstream buzz about a movie that's not mainstream buzzy at all. But because of the pandemic, it's getting that treatment, which I think will hurt it to a certain extent. Because and even, you're right. You watch a Marvel movie trailer and you're like, oh, wow, this is $200 million. But then you watch, it all comes down to individual expectations, I guess. Yours and mine are set because we know this genre so well. But maybe other people are expecting more production design or more character development or, I don't know, more Robert Downey Jr. I don't know. But this is a treat. Yeah. And can I tell you one thing I loved about this movie? And so I guess we'll just talk about the plot. We get the janitor driving in his beautiful Chevy. He gets a flat tire. A tow truck comes by randomly, picks him up, takes him to a shop, says it's about $1,000 to repair his tires, which isn't bad. That's actually a pretty good price, David.